All right, everybody, we're going to be about 30 seconds until we get going. Give people a chance to come online. And since we are going to be very Swiss today, at 30 seconds, we're going to start. So here we go. All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to part 6 of this Get Global live cast or live stream, Exploring Cultural Differences. My name is Link Brown. I work with Swiss SMEs, helping them drive the growth of their business in America. Francisca?
Hi, everyone, and hi, Link. Also, thank you for having me back again on this sixth event. My name is Francisca, as you nicely mentioned, Link, and I'm a coach for leadership and team communication. Thank you.
Very cool. All right. So, so today's topic is stability. So we have had a really awesome journey going from looking at everything from quality, humility, predictability last week, pragmatism. And today we're talking about stability. And I always like to start off with a story. So people, they ask me sometimes, I say, if I'm ever going to move back to America or to any other country. And, what I usually tell them is, or what I used to say a lot, is that I love Switzerland, but I feel like it's a little bit of a bubble. I like a little spice every once in a while in my life. But then I was having this conversation a few weeks ago, and someone asked me, he was actually an American who'd been here for a long time. And I stopped myself from giving that answer. And I realized that I like spice in doses that I control. And Switzerland may feel like a bubble, but there's nothing wrong with a bubble. There's nothing wrong with having a very predictable way that your life goes. And I personally, I kind of like it. So, we're going to talk about what that stability looks like in a business context and a personal context, but definitely Switzerland is one of those places that I find to be extremely predictable and stable and everything. I don't know. Francisco, what do you say?
Yeah, I really like your analogy with the bubble. I can really see and feel how this is. It's really like a safe space. So I might come
Mm,
back to this analogy later on. Um, However, when I think about stability, so from my perspective or from my experience here living in Switzerland as a Swiss person, um, from 25, 30 years ago to now, I think we have quite undergone a change. So we might see that what you explained to be stable and the safe kind of bubble was a lot safer 25 years ago. Like if I remember for work, for example, um, when you worked, everyone was trying to get a job at pharma or at the bank
mhm,
because it was like, this is really stable. This is a lifetime job, like people normally are tried to pursue. It's almost a governmental job. We all know
mhm,
that in today's world, a bank job or a pharma job is not really, it's everything else than stable. There's a lot of benefits but we all know the reorganizations and acquisitions and other stories around. So
mm,
that has changed dramatically in people's perception for stability in kind of job stability. I don't know. In looking into more a business perspective, job is also business, but like doing business with companies, I think stability is something really, really fundamental. And to have this very, very clear long-term goals, or that we discussed it in earlier live streams, that you know the next steps and if I'm gonna do business with you, you're still there in a year, in 2 years, or in 10 years. So that's really something very, very important. Yeah, I don't know, probably comes also back to us because we generally are a more slow moving country, and that supports things not changing too quick. That supports also stability. I don't know, how do you see this, or does it make
Yeah,
sense at all?
no, it makes sense. It makes sense very much so. I actually really have learned to appreciate the way that, in my view, that the Swiss have done a very good job of preserving culture. Now, I bet if I was Swiss, I would probably say that culture has changed a lot. But to me, it feels like a place where you come in and you're almost forced to adapt a Swiss way of life. So I've actually I can appreciate that a lot. And even in my business standpoint, from a business standpoint, I would say that I have found, starting my Swiss limited liability SARL or GmbH, I think is what they call it in Germany, or German part. Like that. Even just not running through my U.S. business, but from my Swiss business, has really given people a sense of, like, oh, he's here to stay. Oh, he's long term versus somebody who's just in and out. So I could definitely see that. Now, what do you mean when you say, like, I know we talked before, like from a political standpoint, like I think you were talking like how Switzerland is a lot more slow moving. What do you think?
Yeah, I think also, so in terms of political, that's how our government is also built. So if you think about, it's quite unique that in Switzerland we have actually 7 people that collectively are the Federal Council, and they're built out of the 4 main parties. So and they need always to find a consensus. And we talked about the importance of consensus in some of our previous live streams. So they always need to have a consensus. So even if the party, a specific person is in, has a different opinion, together as a Federal Council, they can only have one word on something or one opinion, and need to work together. And of course, this is quite challenging, but I think that contributes enormously to stability in our environment. And I think, that's why we see sometimes when there are only 2 parties, for us it looks a lot less stable. And maybe Link, coming back to what you said about the business in Switzerland. So may I ask you if you in the US, so if I want to do business in the US, would you also see it more important to have a business in the US, or would it be also okay to that this small business, I'm not talking big corporates with subsidiaries, would it also be more recommendable, or would it work in Switzerland, or more recommendable to be in the US?
Well, I think if I'm understanding your question correctly, I don't think, again, my Swiss clients have found stability in my SARL, right? Like, but I don't think Americans think this way at all. Like, no one is going to go check the database to see if I'm registered in the Registre de Commerce or whatever to see if I've done business. We listen, they feel as their trust, and then they go, okay, and then I guess they weigh the risk almost, right? Like, or I'll give him a shot, or I'm feeling generous today, and that would be more how people would work. They don't look at necessarily the administrative part of it first, at least. Now, later on, if it gets litigious, or you get into a legal situation, then everyone's looking at the legal parts of it. But at the beginning, I don't really see that. I don't really see that to be the case at all. I picked up on something that you said about the political realm. You said that in Switzerland, at the end of this long negotiation of 7 seven people with the four political parties, that there's one voice.
Yes.
In the US, there could be one voice. No, there's never one voice. The government can say anything they want, and people will say the opposite on purpose, like to create like a counter argument versus what the government is saying. There's never a time when it's just, oh, the government says this, everybody just go along with it. Never. It doesn't happen that way. So yeah, I see that is definitely something that's definitely one big difference in culture. If I was going to talk about the American's perspective in general on stability, you know, and maybe it's part of this whole thing of you guys need consensus of 7 people, 4 groups, and there's this automatic like consensus that you have to build. Where in the U.S. there's only 2 parties, and the 2 parties never agree. So like there's this constant back and forth or almost seesaw approach to how things work. But I would say that America is actually it's a very stable place. There's a sense of stability, but there's also a constant tension underneath. And to explain a little bit, like the economy generally is stable. It's a big economy, you know, it's powerful in the world, but your personal economy can change quite quickly in any direction. Rich to poor, poor to rich. It can change quite quickly depending on decisions that you make. No matter what you hear in the U.S., you know, in the U.S., like it's a very safe place. But there is a small chance that no matter where you're at, no matter how great you think your community is, there's always something that could go wrong in terms of violence underneath it. And like I said, even on the political stance, like where though our politics may seem unstable, particularly over the last 10 or 15 years, there's this tension between both sides of the aisle, which actually, which is always there. But then the systems that we have underneath, the Electoral College, the structure of the way the House of Representatives and the Senate is built, the way we've decentralized states' rights, you know, in a federal system like the U.S., or just like Switzerland has, like creates a level of long-term stability. And so I think that tension can be very exciting and entertaining. And, you know, it also creates lots of opportunities for growth and innovation. But I also feel like it's very exhausting, like extremely exhausting. I don't know if that's making sense to you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can see that, and I feel it's interesting to hear from your side about this this tension, because I
Mm-hmm.
think that's what we sometimes perceive and we see as less stable. Of course, US America is a stable country, and it's one of the biggest, most powerful countries of the world. Nobody
Mm-hmm.
would doubt about this, but still, it's a bit not so stable not seen as that stable, because more unreliable because of these political changes. And that's, I think, what
Mm-hmm.
you described now is really the tension that we can feel while we are sitting here in the bubble, and then we like to to keep going in the bubble. And actually, I keep that bubble with me everywhere, because if that's the stability my country gives to me as a Swiss.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's even a bit yeah, for my it's a privilege, because wherever I am, I just go to the Swiss embassy if I have a problem, and I'm in the bubble again. So, you know, and
Mm-hmm.
having this very consciously in mind really shows how we maybe unconsciously value our stability that it gives us probably almost everywhere in the world. I don't know if I.
Yeah, you know, yeah, no, that makes complete sense, and I go back to your word privilege because I feel the same. Even having grown up, what the U.S. would consider poor, you know, no bed for 10 years, no winter coat 1 year, days without electricity or hot water. Like I still look back on that and I go, I feel very privileged because in reality, there's another world that doesn't have those sort of where even just food or clean water is something that people don't have or don't can't rely on, right? And so so a lot of it is really a question of perspective. But and as we talk about kind of bridging the gap, one of the things I was going to mention really is that idea of creating your own bubble. I found that in the US, because there's so much noise and there's always someone marketing to you, always someone uh, who's trying to get you to buy something or get you to think a certain way or to change your opinion or to be completely countercultural. Like, it is very important to create a bubble around yourself, but at the same time, keep your mind open to new possibilities. If yeah.
Yeah, I think that's really nice what you said, and I think in terms of bridging the gap, also it's just from our side, from the Swiss side, where we take this so much as granted, and basically it's also maybe almost a blind spot that we see everything coming, and being in Switzerland or is very stable. So sometimes maybe it would also be good to have a deeper look, and again to ask and search for confirmation on one on the other side, to really gain somehow more trust, that something else also could be stable, although it looks a bit more tensioned and loud. And maybe to add on, I don't know, could we say something like stability is also the ability to manage and grow in change? Because the change per se, stable doesn't mean we cannot change. Change should always be there. So, but even doing the change, even traveling around, even coming from the US to Switzerland or from Switzerland to US, we feel safe and we feel stable in what we are doing. And it's kind of that stability. Also, we change some things. I don't know.
Right.
Maybe it's over the top now, or does it resonate?
I know it does. It does. I love that. I think, stability really is about having a level of comfort or understanding, a base level of understanding, regardless of what change goes on around you. And I can definitely feel that is a great way to look at it. So I love it. So, by the way, we wanted to just kind of quickly plug. I have to personally say, before I even go into next week, I have really gotten a lot out of each and every interaction. I've been here in Switzerland for 5.5 years, Europe for 7.5 years, and I learn something new all the time. And even in these 20-minute sessions, I keep learning a lot about myself, about Swiss culture, about my clients, and about maybe ways even to communicate differences in culture so that I can be more effective as well. So definitely, I wanted to just tell you, I appreciate that. I appreciate that for sure. And I will give us a quick plug for next week. Next week, we are going to, or not next week, I'm sorry, 2 weeks from now, we're going to talk about, in part 7, we're going to go to something I think the Swiss are very, very known for, and that's precision. And we'll start to see even more of these concepts start to come together. So really looking forward to understanding what precision looks like in Swiss culture, how it might play a little bit different. And I need to give it some real thought about how to help contextualize it for the American sense. But definitely these are fun, and I hope everyone is learning a lot out of them. Franziska?
Great. Thank you very much, Link. And I really, really want to say thank you also, because I'm also learning a lot in these conversations, not only about the US, but also about myself and my Swiss part in me. Thank you very much. And I'm looking forward to explore precision in 2 weeks.
Yes, we shall. 2 weeks. All right, everybody. Have a great day. And we wish you the best. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.